Make them defend the indefensible. And this is what I've been asking for Republicans too. If you don't have the votes, you still bring the laws to the floor and make the Democrats vote against popular laws that Americans want, and they did not do it. We're talking about the Insurrection Act. This is the True Social post if you haven't seen it. This is going everywhere. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So we'll look at an article that talks about the implications of the Insurrection Act. This is not really something we've polled on, to be honest with you. Almost all of the polling that we've done on insurrections and riots and this kind of stuff in the last 5 years has obviously been about January 6th. And there were some protests, and people are kind of split on the protests during the George Floyd stuff, during the Tesla stuff. We ask questions to the tune of, like, are these people just taking advantage of lawlessness, or are they mostly peaceful protesters? And people saw through it, and a plurality said that only a losing plurality, said that they were mostly peaceful protesters. People picked the right answer. Now, as far as the ICE stuff is roughly split. ICE versus anti-ICE protesters is usually, we've asked it twice now. I think it was +1 one time and +5 the other for ICE. And that's because some of the ICE tactics are starting to look bad, in my opinion. People are saying, and we can go into the polling if people want to see, but the tactics are too harsh. And that doesn't mean that people have given up on mass deportations, but tactics done by ICE kind of have been sort of showy and too harsh. Because personally, I want to make sure we deport as many people as possible. And if ICE is going to jeopardize that, the mask's probably not a good idea. I understand what they're doing that for, but it's like, instead of having bad optics that endanger future mass deportations, just go after the terrorist networks, go after the cells. And we've been told that Antifa has been declared a domestic terror organization. We've been told there's investigations into the funding networks of George Soros. So hopefully this will become easier, because I don't think this was happening in 2020. But it's like 2 weeks, we got to wait 2 weeks to see, I guess. The Insurrection Act would be good, though. I'm pretty sure the optics would be a little bit different if you had protesters protesting the United States Marine Corps instead of ICE agents. But, the leftist media is not happy. Trump threatens to use Insurrection Act in Minnesota in response to ICE protests. Protests continue across the state, and the governor urges peace 1 week after an ICE agent was shot and killed, Renee Good. And we're not going to get into that. I mean, the poor kids is my takeaway. And I think the woman shouldn't have put herself there. I think the videos show that she obviously accelerated at the cop, whether she was just being or she's a psychopath. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. It's an unfortunate death, though, because, again, I think it will also minimize the number of deportations we get. Donald Trump threatened on Thursday to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota in response to protests in Minneapolis against federal immigration enforcement operations as Minnesota's governor. Tim Walz overnight urged demonstrators in Minneapolis to be peaceful amid escalating tensions. Well, I don't know if that's the whole story. He made his post on True Social, and then later on Thursday morning, Walz put out a statement. I'm making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. Since when is lawfulness retribution? That's what I want to know. These people are trying to carry out federal law. They're federal law enforcement agents. People are getting in the way. And they are authorized to use force in order to, I mean, this is basic stuff, to do their jobs. Trump's warning on Thursday that he might invoke the Insurrection Act came as overnight Walz urged people in Minneapolis to protest peacefully after it was reported on Wednesday evening that a federal officer had shot a man in the leg during an immigration enforcement operation on the north side of the city. Well, it's like, yeah, federal law enforcement might have to shoot people. It happened. Like, it happens. But imagine, you can feel the horror of the person writing this. And we'll look at the horror of Reddit too. The incident sparked protests in Minneapolis on Wednesday night as the city remains on edge just 1 week after a federal immigration officer there shot and killed Renee Good. Well, it's on edge because they probably flooded the state with paid people. But this is, I think it's important, before going to Tim Walz's statement about turning down the temperature, to see what else he's telling people.
ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people.
That's probably a mischaracterization. They probably could be going door to door. They could be checking on people. But are they saying, show me where the brown people are? I'm pretty sure that's a lie.
Indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools.
Yeah, I got to show my ID a lot of places,
They're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans.
Illegals.
Kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process.
So ICE agents kidnap people.
Let's be very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government. Last week,
let's all recall why ICE is there in larger numbers than they are in other places in the country. I guess he's not bringing that up. There are active criminal complaints filed with the Department of Justice by Representative Anapolina Luna for Tim Walz's arrest. He's been referred to the DOJ. Active referral for his arrest.
That campaign claimed the life of Renee Nicole Good. We've all watched the video. We've all seen what happened. And yet, instead of conducting an impartial investigation so we can hold accountable the officer responsible for Renee's
been 4 days, bro.
Death, the Trump administration is devoting the full power of the federal government to finding an excuse to attack the victim and her family.
I don't know if that happened.
Yesterday, 6 federal prosecutors, including the longtime career prosecutor leading the charge to investigate and eliminate fraud in our state's programs, quit their jobs rather than go along with this assault on the United States Constitution. But as bad as it's been, Donald Trump intends for it to get worse.
Are illegal aliens and rampant fraud assaults on our Constitution? That's my question. Yeah, the kidnapping. You got to be kidding me. The problem I see, though, is that he's like singing a hymn to the religious cult that worships this stuff. These are all catechisms, and we all know it. It's kind of gross.
This week, he went online to promise that, quote, the day of retribution and reckoning is coming. That's a direct threat against the people of this state who dared to vote against him 3 times and who continue to stand up for freedom with courage and empathy and profound grace. All across Minnesota, people are stepping up to help their neighbors.
Let's remember that he is dropping out of the race because it's probably risky whether he'll win or not at this point.
Who are being unjustly and unlawfully targeted. They're distributing care packages and walking kids to school and raising their voices in peaceful protest, even though doing so has made many of our fellow Minnesotans targets for violent retribution.
I've seen a bunch of shrill old harpies is what I've seen. Not a lot of like raising their voices in hymns. I really haven't. A lot of spray paint.
Retribution. Folks, I know it's scary, and I know it's absurd that we all have to be defending law and order, justice, and humanity while also caring for our families and trying to do our jobs. So tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, end this occupation. You've done enough. Let me say 4 critical things to the people of Minnesota. 4 things I...
Who's occupying Minnesota? Federal agents doing their job or illegals that need to be deported?
Want you to hear as you watch the news and look out for your neighbors. First, Donald Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets. We cannot give him what he wants. We must protest loudly.
If they wanted the chaos to go away, don't you think that they could cooperate with ICE? I mean, that is an option. That is something that's on the
Urgently,
table.
but also peacefully. Indeed, as hard as we will fight in the courts and at the ballot box, we cannot and will not let violence prevail. You're angry, I'm angry. Angry is not a strong enough word, but we must remain peaceful. Second, you are not powerless. You are not helpless, and you are certainly not alone. All across Minnesota, people are learning about opportunities, not just to resist, but to help people who are in danger. Thousands upon thousands of our fellow Minnesotans are going to be relying on mutual aid in the days and weeks to come, and they need our support. Tonight, I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution. The third thing I want to say to you tonight is we will not have to live like this forever. Accountability is coming at the voting booth and in court. We will reclaim our communities from Donald Trump. We will reestablish a sense of safety for our neighbors, and we will bring an end to this moment of chaos, confusion, and trauma. We will find a way to move forward, and we'll do it together, and we'll not be alone. Every day, we are working with business leaders, faith leaders, legal experts, and elected officials from across this country. They've all seen what Donald Trump is trying to do to our state, and they know their states could be next. And that brings me to the fourth thing I want to say tonight.
Their states should be next.
Minnesota, how incredibly proud I am of the way that you've risen to meet this unbearable moment. But I'm not at all surprised, because this is who we are.
So he's condoning everything that's happened so far.
And Minnesotans believe in the dignity of all people. We're a place where there's room for everybody, no matter who.
The entire world is welcome in Minnesota. And they'll take the federal benefits too. They'll take your taxpayer money.
Or who you love, or where you came from. A place where we feed our kids, we take care of our neighbors, and we look out for those
give everybody
in the shadows of
welfare.
life. We're an island of decency.
So I love this, right? Like, I love forcing blue state governors to cry and ask everybody to resist federal agents and to put up a fight and to, he's asking for the temperature to increase. And the way I kind of think about it is, yes, there were some bad ICE optics. I would love for them to get better, but I'm not saying that they stop deporting people. And make these people defend criminals. Make these people defend illegal immigration and rampant fraud. Make them stand up and join arms and stand as a wall in front of communities that hate Americans. Let's have Gavin Newsom run for president in 2028 as his state is swarming with federal agents, picking apart the hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud that have accumulated over years in California. Make them defend the indefensible. And this is what I've been asking for Republicans too. If you don't have the votes, you still bring the laws to the floor and make the Democrats vote against popular laws that Americans want, and they did not do it. And so it falls on Trump, and Trump's using the retribution word, and they hate it, and I love it. It's like, yes, justice should be swift. There should be retribution for violating your duty of care, the laws of the United States of America. And so this looks really uppity. I call it Fort Dumpter. Their temperature is increasing, and this guy, again, potentially going to be arrested. He's looking at some interesting options. One of the options is not running for governor again. He's given that up. And so what's he going to do? Is it better for him to be a martyr and resist the federal government and force Donald Trump into aggressive action? Or, is he going to get arrested? I would love to see them try to roll this guy up. So then he put this out. I'm making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. Well, Americans support mass deportations, bro. And Americans are angry at the level of waste, fraud, and abuse. And those numbers keep going up. It's up to 76%. And they think that what they're seeing in Minnesota is just the tip of the iceberg. We can look at that poll. Appeal to Minnesotans. I know this is scary. We must speak out loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. We can't fan the flames of chaos. Well, why did you shut down investigations into fraud in your state, dude? Like, why did you do that? Then the federal agents wouldn't be there. And then this guy, this traitor, this David Frey, Jacob Frey, who has a tapeworm from eating Somali food, always looks like he's sweating and like he's about to pass out. This is pretty wild. Somebody,
and we're in a position right now where we have.
This is the police chief. Look at it. Look at his face. Just watch this guy's face.
That are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors.
His eyebrows.
We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting.
You see the side eyes now?
Why are we put in this position? We're put in this position because we have approximately.
He looks like he wants to clock him. So if you didn't catch what happened there, the mayor of Minneapolis is calling for the police to fight ICE agents. And the pro-Somali chief of police apparently is like, wait a minute, what did you say? And then he like stares at the floor in utter shock. Can't believe that this guy said that. And now he's shooting daggers at him as he continues to go on. This is unbelievable. This guy here must have the biggest Somali skeletons in his closet. I can't even imagine how much money he's earning off of all the schemes. Allegedly, right? Allegedly. Unbelievable. Some other people had some pretty great takes. Here's Emerald Robinson. It's grimly hilarious that Trump wants to overthrow the mullahs in Iran when he hasn't even pacified Minnesota. And I think she always has a way with words. I think that's a valid concern. Like, we probably shouldn't be expanding our empire if there's problems back in Rome. And there are. There's a color revolution in full swing in America while he talks about Greenland. And we've seen this film before. It's 2020 again. What exactly has Trump learned? Maybe a little bit too harsh, but the visuals, again, and I know that these are cherry picked, but these are the people that are linking arms and singing peacefully about, the men and women, the Americans who are being thrown in black vans by ICE. It's like pretty cute. Pretty cute. Finally, there's Bannon. And he's with me on this.
We demand mass deportations, not the onesies, twosies you're seeing in Minnesota. You haven't seen anything yet. We're the biggest advocate of invoking the Insurrection Act and going in and cleaning out the mess. President Trump and Stephen Miller and Homa, they're trying to be very targeted and very precise on the criminal element. We demand mass deportations, not the onesies, twosies you're seeing in Minnesota. You haven't seen anything yet. We're the biggest advocate of invoking the Insurrection Act and going in and cleaning out the mess. President Trump and Stephen Miller and Homa, they're trying to be very targeted.
Yeah, he's repeating himself. This, his show gets watched by people in the administration. And so I hope this message is getting through.